Hello, everyone. Janine here. We are at episode 42 of Tiger Talk Tuesday. This is transitioning to life after sports, and we have athlete Paul Rushforth in the house tonight. A little background on Paul. He was drafted to the Buffalo Sabres in 1992, where he signed a 4-year contract. He played 10 years of pro hockey before concussions and injuries forced him to retire. His last 4 years, he was a player captain and player assistant coach of the London Knights in London, England, which we will get into in our chat. And in his first year, he scored a natural hat trick to win the championship. His gloves and socks were put into the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. What a cool experience. After hockey, he followed his mom into real estate, started in 2004, and in 2007, he was #1 in Ottawa and has been ever since. In 2008, he was #1 in Canada, and 2009, #1 in the world for Keller Williams. Awesome accomplishment. And he started his own company, Paul Rushforth Real Estate, in 2011. So welcome to the call, Paul.
Thanks for having me, Gene. I'm excited to be on it.
Yeah, so this series started, unfortunately, we had some friends that we were found deceased in their homes that couldn't navigate life after sports. And we're opening the conversations about, life after injury, retirement, or some unforeseen circumstances that forces you to hang up the jersey and really just create a space for athletes around the globe who could be suffering in silence, to let them know that they're just, we're all human. We all have our dark days, right? So maybe let's go back to your younger playing days. What was that like for you? Did you always have dreams of playing pro hockey? Tell us kind of how you started out.
For sure. Yeah. Just like every Canadian kid, that's all I knew. What do you want to do for a living? Hockey? Is there anything else? That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional hockey player. You actually know my parents. My parents are both Australian. And the beauty of having Australian parents is they have no clue about hockey. They don't care about hockey. So they put me in hockey, but they weren't one of those overbearing parents where I had to do all this extra stuff and do this and do that like the kids have to do nowadays. If I wanted to do something, my parents put me in it.
Okay.
They were the best parents alive, as you know. You see them
I
all the
do
time at the
love your
gym.
parents. I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
look forward to walking on the treadmill with your dad. I like
yeah.
smile when I see them. They're in there at 5 in the morning, crushing it.
I know they always go on about you, always, always, always. But yeah. So my parents were. There was no pressure in my hockey career. I was very fortunate to be a decent young hockey player. I think at 14 I was rated 1 or 2 in Canada for hockey. And you know what? I had a great career. We're going to get into it. I had a great career. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things. I saw some amazing places.
Yeah, so let's start. Let's just jump right into it. So
Yeah,
you signed with Buffalo. What was that experience like for you? What, you get the call, or where were you? What were you doing?
yeah. So I was drafted. Luckily, it was in Montreal too, right? And it was the first year. So it was 1992, and that's where they opened the floodgates for all of Europe. So you had, people from Finland, Sweden, Russia. Like before that, before 1992, you had to be a Canadian or an American to get drafted to the NHL. So they opened the floodgates, and I was rated. I think I was rated 6th round, and my agent said, I wouldn't even bother going. They've opened the floodgates now. You're not going to get drafted. It's just not going to happen. So I said, well, it's Montreal. It's an hour and a
That's a
half
good
away.
pep talk. Thanks.
Well, yeah, yeah. Thanks, agent. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And he happens to be one of the best agents in the world, but
Yeah.
he knew what he was doing. But
Yeah.
anyway, so it was in Montreal. So I'm like, it's an hour and a half away. Why not? I'll go. I'll go to Montreal. I'll sit there and not hear my name be called and blah blah blah. So at that point, it was the first 5 rounds were on the first day, and then round number 6 to 12 was the next day. So I didn't hear my name called the first day. And I said, you know what? Let's go back. I don't even think I put a suit on. I was like, I'm not getting drafted, whatever. I sat in the stands, 6th round starts. I think it was like, I don't know, 3rd, 4th, 5th pick in the 6th round. I was drafted the Buffalo Sabres, and it was like a dream come true.
I
Absolute
just
dream
got
come true.
chills when you said that.
Yeah. It was it was in Montreal. I had people there. I had family there. It was a dream come true. And I remember going into the draft though, and at that time, I'm dating myself, but it was Hartford Whalers were in the NHL at that time. And I remember saying to myself, I want to get drafted anywhere, but sorry,
That's okay.
I want to get drafted anywhere but Buffalo or Hartford. And I got drafted to Buffalo. But whatever. I mean, it's a kid's dream to get drafted to the
Of course.
NHL.
And what
Even
was
if
that transition like for you? I mean, like the whole experience, obviously, what was that like for you mentally, emotionally, physically, the demands?
uh like transitioning to pro hockey,
Yeah. Mm.
I'll tell you, people tell you that they know what's coming and how fast it's going to be and how good the hockey's going to be. They have no clue. I mean, I was playing in the OHL at the time, and I was, scoring lots of goals in the NHL. And I remember going to my first Buffalo Sabres training camp and thinking to myself, holy shit, I don't belong. Like, I just don't belong here. I'm an 18-year-old kid. I'm
Yeah.
playing with, I'm on the ice with Pat LaFontaine, Dale Howardchuk, Anderchuk, Grant Fuhrer, Dominic Hasek. Like, I'm on with these legends, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't keep up with any of these guys. Like, I didn't fit
A
in.
little imposter syndrome.
Absolutely. I was like, oh, am I supposed to be here? Like,
Yeah.
is everyone watching how bad I am? but apparently they signed me to a 4-year contract, so I must have been doing something right. So
Yeah. Okay. And so you have your career and whatnot, and obviously you transitioned over to the in London, England. What
yeah,
was that transition like for you, those pockets? So there's always like that, there's those years where you feel like you're just executing everything you're on, and then you have those, what kind of arena did you, sorry, let me rephrase this. What year or during that time did you experience maybe like this isn't fitting, or you felt kind of like it was just really tough to navigate? Did you have some specific experience or a year or a game or a few months where you can really pinpoint that you were like, okay, I'm kind of struggling here with this? Or
yeah. So I'm only gonna say one name, and people will know what I'm talking about, because he's the biggest asshole in all of hockey, and his name is John Tortorella.
okay.
So John Tortorella is my coach in Rochester, and he shaped me who I am as a person, and he shaped my career because he's such an asshole. And I'm sorry for the language, but
No.
this guy is the biggest asshole I've ever played for in my entire life. I was a young kid. I'm an 18-year-old kid. Actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm now old enough where I can either play in Rochester or make the Buffalo Sabres. And I'm playing in Rochester. Buffalo, the NHL strike happens. They send me down to Rochester, and Tortorella is my coach. And at the time, I'm a big prospect with Buffalo. And Buffalo's basically telling Tortorella, play the kid. We want to see how good he is. Play the kid. And if anyone knows Tortorella, he's like, you're telling me what to do? Screw you. I'm going to let this kid rot. So I went probably, I don't remember, but I'm going to exaggerate maybe and say I probably sat in the stands for 9 to 12 games, just in my suit in the stands. When I'm a prospect in Buffalo, they want to see how good I am, and he wouldn't play me.
Oh no.
And he was so powerful at the time that they're like, well, I can't fire Tortorella, and he's the guy. So anyways, so then we represent Team USA at the Spengler Cup. And if anyone knows the Spengler Cup, it's over in Davos, Switzerland. It's the best of the best. They go over there. And because we are the Rochester Americans, we represented the USA, even though I'm Canadian. I went over there. I led my team in scoring. The next game back on in Rochester, back in the stands. The mind game
Oh
was
no.
absolutely insane.
So what did
Insane.
you approach him? Did you have the
So
conversation, or there's
so
no
I
conversation to be had?
there was no conversation, because he was like, who are you? You're a nobody. Like, he treated me like I was a piece of garbage. And that's why when I see players speak out about Tortorella, I now I know. I'm like, just like, yes, I know exactly what you're going through. Sorry. So it shaped me in a couple ways, because at that point I knew that I don't think I have a career in the NHL. I have a career in pro hockey, but I don't think I have a career in the NHL, because this kid has this coach has taken me from here to here. And I felt like a piece of shit. I felt like I wasn't worthy. I felt terrible. Um, he broke me. So I remember saying to my agent at the time, I said, I want out. He's like, out? You're under contract with the Buffalo Sabres. You can't get out. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I want out. I don't care where I play. I don't care what level it is. It could be the
Hmm.
lowest level in all of pro hockey. I want to play. I want to have fun again. So the Buffalo Sabres came back and said, if you can find a team that will take your NHL contract, we will let you go. And I did. I found a team who took my minor league NHL contract.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't a lot. I mean, it was probably 40, 50 grand, which for some people, that's a lot of money. But in hockey terms, it's not a lot of money.
Correct.
There's an East Coast League hockey team who took my contract. And from there on, I said, you know what? I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm going to play the game. There's going to be no bullshit business hockey. I'm going to play the game and enjoy it. And from that point on, my visions of playing in the NHL were gone. I just played in amazing places with amazing people, traveled, and just enjoyed the game again. And it was, and so today people ask me about Tortorella, and I have two thoughts. One, like, excuse the language, but fuck you. And two, thank you. Thank you. Because I was in a dark hole, and I got out of it because I was starting to enjoy the game again. So it's
So what did you do to get yourself out of that dark hole? Because I find as humans, we all experience them. What was kind of your methodology? Obviously you stood up for yourself and said, I want out. So obviously that's a huge thing to do. But behind closed doors, I mean, you were probably still training, putting in the reps, training, but that really takes away your excitement for the game when you know it's not going to go anywhere, right? How did you navigate that?
Well, I knew that, any kid growing up dreams of playing in the NHL. And I was there, like I was right there. I mean, I played 14 serious exhibition game with the Buffalo Sabres. As an 18-year-old kid, I was a pretty big prospect. I thought I was going to play in years and years and years in the NHL. 1,000 games in the NHL didn't happen. There was one year in Rochester that I was on a very productive line, and there was talk that they were going to bring us all up to Buffalo. Didn't happen. But it was, at the time, it was almost like the end of the world. And I look back now, and I'm kind of like, was it the end of the world? It taught me some lessons. I mean, it taught me adversity. It taught me believing in myself. It taught me sticking up for myself. It just taught me so many lessons that I may not be where I am today if it wasn't for those formidable years where I really, like, I say this, and I know it's happening every single day, but I really wish no hockey player goes through what I had to go through in those years. But it shaped me who I am today, right? I've learned to be a little bit harder. I've learned to be a little bit more resilient. I've learned to forgive. I've learned to coach and mentor. I've learned to do things that I might not be able to do if I didn't have to go through that
The adversity, for
yeah,
sure.
the adversity and train wreck. Yeah.
It definitely, I mean, navigating any type of hardship will help strengthen that resiliency muscle inside of you, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned coaching. So you were a player assistant coach in London?
Yeah, so I went over to London, England, and how it actually came about. I was playing in the Spengler Cup, like I mentioned, and I'm playing against Glenn Anderson, who played with Wayne Gretzky. I'm playing Sylvain Turgeon, years, probably 1,000 points in the NHL. I can't remember how many, but somewhere like that. And I'm playing against Team Canada with all these legends, and I'm this young kid playing for Rochester, and they're kind of laughing at us, and they're just like, enjoy the American Hockey League making your peanuts. We're over in Europe making big money. We don't have to fight. We get a car, a house, this and that. And I'm like, So
the ears perk up.
The ears perk up, and so it wasn't until all this stuff with John Tortorella went on, and I was playing in Fresno, California, in the West Coast Hockey League, and the coach of the team said, "Hey, listen, I coach San Jose in the professional roller hockey in the summertime. Would you like to come play roller hockey?" I'm like, roller hockey? Like, what's roller hockey? But then I'm like, oh, hold on, San Jose in the summer? Like,
Yeah.
I get paid to play roller hockey? So I went over and I played roller hockey for San Jose, and we played against. Everything was in the NHL building, so it was cool. Like, we played in Anaheim in the pond.
In roller hockey?
Oh yeah, it was so cool.
I love it.
So at the time, like, this would have been, what am I now, 49? I would have been 20, young 20s. So we're a long time ago. And we got paid 400 American every time we won a game and 300 American every time we lost a game. and we had a car and a house, and it was like a
What a great
summer.
experience.
What a great experience, right? So in our division was Anaheim, Vegas, Dallas, Phoenix, like so the best of the best.
Some of
And
the
we're playing
best
in all these
places.
NHL barns. And at the time, Chris McSorley, who's the brother of Marty McSorley, and everyone knows Marty's a bit of a lunatic. Well, Chris McSorley is Marty on steroids. Like he's a lunatic. But for some reason, he loved my style of play because I was a tough player. So he loved my style of play. And in roller hockey, he said to me, I'm coaching the London Knights in London, England this year. He'd been coaching the American Hockey League, NHL, like maybe not NHL actually, but American Hockey League and all that. He's like, would you like to come over and play for me? I was like, I know nothing about London, England and hockey. Like, is it good hockey? And apparently it was amazing hockey because we had ex-NHL guys. We had guys who were on the bubble who were almost making the NHL, but they're not making the NHL. So they go play in the minors, or do you want to go play over in Europe and make triple the money, have no stress, not have to fight all the time? So I'm like, you know what? Let me look into this. So with my agent, we looked into London, England. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I was making triple the money. I'm like, let's do it.
Why not?
Yeah. So I went over to London, England, and honestly, that is where I, started to fall in love with the game again. The first year I was the captain. They made me the captain, and which was surprising because the hockey was really, really good. I'm still this young kid.
Yeah.
But I'm the only one with pretty much NHL experience and NHL draftee and stuff like that. So they made me the captain, and yeah, it was just a really, really good experience. And that year was my pinnacle because every year I'd watch people hoist the Stanley Cup, and I'd be like, God, I just want to win a championship. I want that I want that rock. I want
Yeah.
that ring. I just want to win a championship. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I didn't care how much money I made. I wanted to win a championship. And that year we had a team that, you think of London, England and the Super League, and it's pretty hockey. Chris McSorley made it messy hockey. Like he brought every goon over, he brought every tough guy over, and our team was tough, and we ran over everyone. And that year, I was in the championship. I'm wearing the C on my shoulder, and we won the championship. I scored a natural hat trick to win it for my team. And that summer, I'm in my dentist chair. My dentist is like, "Hey, congratulations!" So I'm like, "Oh, on what? My championship?" Like, "No, you're in the Hockey Hall of Fame." And I spit whatever he had in my mouth. I was like, whatever. I mean, like, I'm a bubble bum. Like, what do you mean I'm in the Hockey Hall of Fame? He's like, "You're in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Your gloves, your socks. There's a plaque and talks about how you scored the
And
natural
you
hat
had
trick."
no idea?
No idea, no idea. And I'm sitting there laughing at the guy like, "You're full of shit."
How does that come
So
to be? Don't they have to call
I
you or
don't
tell
know.
you?
I don't know. So then
That's a nice surprise. That's a good dentist visit.
it was a great surprise. And I went home and I was telling my wife at the time, and I'm like, apparently I'm in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And she's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, apparently I am. I don't know. So it wasn't until a couple fans who were fans in London, England were insane, but they were the sweetest, most incredible, loyal people in the world. There was like a whole flock of them that flew from Toronto to London flew from London, England to Toronto just to see my gloves in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Wow. And they were sending me pictures and everything saying, "You're in the Hockey Hall of Fame." I'm like, what? So the next day I jumped in the car with my kids and I'm like, let's go look. So I have pictures of me like with my gloves and my socks and all that in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And it was kind of a claim to fame. I had
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's
and actually
pretty special.
Yeah, one of this is a little off topic, but I'm going to go here quickly. So years later, I run this. Now that I'm in real estate, I run this charity golf tournament, and I had Claude Giroux there. I had Chris Phillips. I had a lot of celebrities there, and my dad, of course, who's so proud of me and stuff like that.
The biggest celebrity there is.
Yeah, and
Liam
McGuire's doing the auction and stuff like that. And Liam's like, somebody stump me. As you know, Liam, he's like, somebody stump me. You can't stump me with any hockey question ever. So my dad puts up his hand, and there's all these, superstar hockey players there. My dad's like, everyone in this room who played hockey, there's only one person that's actually in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Who is it? And Liam McGuire's like, no, nobody. My dad's like, I just stumped you. My son's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and everyone laughed because I'm a nobody, right? So
I love it.
yeah,
Well,
everyone
clearly is
laughed.
somebody, you
Wow.
know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. That's amazing. Now, okay, so obviously, I mean, these conversations, we talk a lot about what happens when the cheering stops. And I mean, it is a big transition for athletes, identity crisis. I went through it, and just the transition. I mean, you go from having so much schedule, it's regimented, you basically get to show up and play the game you love. You're traveling, you just have to worry about yourself. What was that like for you? You had injuries and concussions that forced you to retire. How did that go for you? And when did you really know you're like, okay, I can't, if I want to be healthy and live longer, I can't be doing this anymore? Or was it just an abrupt stop for you?
Yeah, and honestly, Janine, I'm going to try not to get emotional through this
Okay.
because I do. Um,
Emotions are welcome.
yeah,
And
no, I mean, I'm human, right?
yeah.
It was when it stopped. You go your whole life as a young kid, and your goal is just to be a pro hockey player. And then I remember when I got near the end, I was suffering from concussions, which I still suffer from today. Um, I probably didn't know it, but I was an alcoholic. Um, I had a young family at the time. I was married with a young daughter who was born in London, England. And I kind of came to the conclusion that I can't do this anymore. My brain is too important. And if we go longer, I'll tell you stories about my kids and their hockey because of, what I've done to them because of concussions and that. Um, and I knew that I couldn't do this much longer. So my mom, who's a damn good real estate agent, um, she talked to me about getting into real estate, but like I was a pro hockey player. I didn't have any other job. I never had another job.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to interview for a job. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I have a high school education, and even then, I don't even know where I got my degree from. Like, I didn't have an education. I was nervous as shit. And I'm 30 years old, and I'm supposed to play till I'm 38, 40 years old, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I knew my last year, and I always told myself, if I'm playing for money, I'm out.
Mm,
I'm out. I
yeah.
play for
Not for
passion.
the love of the game. Yeah.
Exactly. And I lost my love of the game, and I had no passion. I actually went to training camp that year out of shape because I had no drive
Oh,
to
wow.
get myself in shape for, when I say out of shape, I mean,
Yeah.
7 pounds out of shape. But
Yeah,
as an athlete, 7 pounds is a lot of friggin' weight
for sure.
when you're trying to be in shape. And I went to training camp that year. Um, and here I am supposed to be the player assistant coach. I'm supposed to lead by example. I'm out of shape. My attitude's not right. And I knew I was playing for money. And I knew that it was done. I was done. And it was like that year couldn't, I wanted it to go slower because
Mm.
I was so scared when the year ended what I was going to do.
It's so interesting that you say this. I was with a group of U22 female athletes on Sunday, and they're some of the girls that are in their last year. I mean, the fear that was coming up for them now. I mean, I'm like, guys, you still have 6 months to play, and they're already scared of what's next. And so it happens at all different ages and stages. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you even saying that. Interesting. You were already fearing it before it even. That's hard to play in the moment when you're fearing the future, right?
Yeah. And what's funny is when I was a little bit younger, you get drafted to the OHL. I think it was 17. I think I was drafted to the OHL. But at the time, you get all these letters of intent for scholarships, which
Mm,
I mean, but you get these letters of intent, but you don't actually get a scholarship. You
yeah.
get letters of intent because you're too young. So I was getting all these letters of intent from all these awesome universities, American universities, on a full ride scholarship like you had. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's great. But at the time, if I want to make the NHL, I got to go to the OHL. Like the OHL is my path to the NHL.
Mm,
And this is where my parents did this because my parents were
sure.
all about education. I mean, my dad's a doctor. My mom was his nurse. Is now a very, very successful real estate agent. But my mom was all about school.
Yeah.
So my mom said, no, you're going to American University. You're getting a scholarship. And my dad's like, but he wants to go to the OHL. I wanted to go to the OHL because I wanted to make the NHL. So it was a fight. It was a fight every
Of
day.
course.
And I remember my mom saying, I'll tell you what, I will only let you play in the OHL if you ask for a school package, meaning when you're done playing, they
Mm.
have to pay for 4 years of your school. Well, back then that's unheard of. Like
Yeah.
no one gets a school package. Like, I mean, I think it was making $40 every 2 weeks as a salary in the OHL. Like that's what I was making. No one pays for a school. So I said, listen, if you guys want me, I was rated early to mid first round in the OHL draft. I said, if you guys want me, my mom's telling me I have to ask for a school package.
Good job, mom.
Well, good job, but bad job, because I asked for a school package and I went in the 6th round. I was an
Okay.
early to mid first round draft pick, and could I maybe gone higher in the NHL draft, maybe signed. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
what it is. It is what it is. I never got that school package. That's what my mom wanted me to do, and that's what I did. But I don't look back, and I don't look what could have been. I am where I am, where I'm supposed to be. And yeah, it's funny. I look back, and now I'm able to tailor my kids, and my kids were my oldest son was a very, very, very good defenseman here in Ottawa. And the year contact came in, you had kids this big and kids this big. Well, my son was a very small kid. And so he had 2 concussions. Well, I retired from concussions. So I said to my son, I'm like, done, bud. You're done. He's like, but I want to play in the NHL. I'm like, nope, you're done. You're playing house league hockey with no contact because your brain is more important. That you don't want to have to go through what I went through. Put it that way.
And what was it for you? I feel like, are you getting a little emotional right now?
Yeah.
What's coming? Can you share what's coming up for you?
Well, I mean, I still to this day, I mean, I have a terrible memory. I struggle all the time with concussions.
So how do they present themselves now after you've had them, for anyone that's unaware? Like, how do you say you still get them, or?
No, I don't get them. But well, don't get me wrong. For me to get a concussion, you can tap me in the back of my head, and I'm like
Really, eh? That's
oh
how
yeah,
sensitive. Okay.
that's how, like the other day I was moving a 250-pound shed, and because I was clenching my jaws and all that, I gave myself a concussion. So
Okay, wow.
it's crazy, right? It's crazy. And then what comes with concussions? It comes with not only memory loss, but it also comes with sporadic. It comes with what comes out of my mouth sometimes. People are like, what did you just say? And I'm like, I don't know. Like
Okay.
it's almost like I have Tourette syndrome. It's not to, if anyone does have that, I don't mean to make
Yeah,
light of it,
for sure.
but it comes with me saying stupid stuff, and it comes with a lack of memory, and it comes with substance abuse. It comes with addiction. It comes with, but I have it like, and I know we'll probably get into addiction and stuff like that, but I have addiction for everything. Like when I'm working out, I mean, I gotta go. Like it's like nothing's more
I
focused
feel
on
like
that.
I'm like that. I'm all in. I'm either all in or I'm all out.
But that's not you being an athlete. Sorry, that's not you with concussions. That you being an athlete. Like you
Yeah,
being an athlete, you're always all in with everything, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it is.
for
That's what it
sure.
is.
But just saying yeah, that's correct. That's a good well, and what I'm just curious, the emotional side, is it, do you do you regret something that took place? Do you like, where, I'm curious where the emotions coming from, or do you wish you're like, is it because your son went through it too, or are you, what are you seeing in your mind?
No, it's I mean, like I said, you put your heart and soul into everything when you're an athlete. You just do.
Yeah.
And I retired from pro hockey at the age of 30. I didn't know what I was going to do. My mom was in real estate. I thought maybe I'll try real estate. Um, and I knew I had to, like, I succeeded out of fear. Like I had to make it. I mean, I didn't have a lot of savings at the time. I mean, like hockey was not like today where people are making millions and millions of dollars. It's, I had a young family. one child. I had to buy two vehicles. I had to buy a house here in Ottawa. Got into real estate. My last paycheck in my pro career was in April. I don't think I made a paycheck in real estate until December. So when you're having to buy all this stuff and everything just coming at you, you spiral out of control.
Of
You
course.
really do. And you told the story at the start where I got into real estate in 2004. 2007, I was number one amongst all companies in Ottawa. In 2008, I was number one in Canada. And in 2009, I was number one in the world for Keller Williams, which was the biggest company in the world. And I still wasn't satisfied. I was missing something. I was just you don't feel whole. You're missing something, and it just came. It's from my brain. Like nothing was good enough. I kept needing more and more and more. I needed that gratification. And was this from concussions? I mean, I'm assuming it was. But
So what comes
it's
up for me when you say that, because I'm, as someone who, is a high achiever as well. And one thing I really recognized is I thrived off external validation. And I really recognize
right.
that, I had a strict father growing up. So, and he was, his love language was acts of service, not words of affirmation. And I know to recognize I love words of affirmation. It's definitely my love language in terms of how I receive love. And it was kind of like anytime I was in a negative headspace, it was like I just gave myself a goal, and guess what, I would crush it, and then I'd constantly get that validation. When I went through breast cancer, it really forced me to stop and reflect. And when I started doing the inner work, like meditation and journaling and doing a deep dive into some other reading and stuff like that, I noticed this whole other side of me that emerged. I'm just curious, do you do anything behind closed doors for yourself in that arena from a mindset standpoint, or journaling, meditation, reading that helped you kind of?
I Yeah, I did for years. I did for
Brilliant.
years. Yeah, I did for years. And it was, um, to be honest with you, I'll get very personal, but I've been in and out of rehab for years.
Okay.
My first, very innocently, back when I played hockey, you had a little bruise, and it would be like, yeah, go back to the cupboards and grab whatever you need back there. And you'd open up the cupboards, and there was just painkiller after painkiller after painkiller.
Yeah.
So I lived on painkillers, much like most hockey players do. I don't think they do anymore, but they did. They lived
Correct.
on painkillers. I lived on painkillers. And when my season ended, because I was still so banged up, I was still living on painkillers.
Yeah.
Problem being, when my career ended, I was still living on painkillers.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I went down a rabbit hole. I was, and this is, and I told you a story before we actually got on and we're recording, but in real estate, I'm very lucky that I've succeeded at high levels, and so I'm up on stage a lot and things like that. And I got to the point where every time someone told me how good I was, it made me go this and this, and I just got lower and lower and lower because
Interesting.
I knew the lie I was living. I
Mm.
knew the bullshit lie I was living, and people looked at me like I was this successful real estate agent, former professional hockey player. You got everything,
Meanwhile,
and
you're suffering in silence.
meanwhile, I felt like a bag of shit. Like
Mm.
I honestly was so low on myself. I felt so bad about myself. And it wasn't until one time I was in Vegas at this real estate conference, and people were coming up to me like, "I can't wait to hear you speak today. I know you're on the stage at 2." And I'm thinking to myself, "Why the fuck do you want to listen to me? I'm a loser." And I'm number one in the world at this time. And I'm telling myself I'm a loser. I'm a
Yeah.
nobody. I'm a piece of shit. And this little guy stands up and he's like, "Paul, thank you so much for the speech that you just gave. I'm going to be funny here, but not funny. How do I become you?" And
Yeah.
I think I broke down. I think I started crying.
Oh,
Yeah, I did. I think I started crying, and I was like, "Dude, you don't want to be me." And everyone's like, "What?" I'm like, "There's stuff you guys don't know about me that you don't want to be me. You really don't. You see this successful outer shell guy, but inside I'm hollow. I'm fucking hollow." And they're like, "What do you mean? Like you're number one in the world in real estate. And you're a professional hockey player." And I'm like, "No, I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud." And after that, I probably spent the next 2 days of everybody coming up to me saying, thank you,
For your
thank you,
honesty. Yeah.
thank you. Because here we are, we don't believe we're good enough. We're watching you up on stage and we see that you believe you're not good enough. And it makes us feel like, okay, we're okay. We're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because of this guy who's supposed to be teaching us and supposed to be this mentor is just as fucked up as I am. Like, we're okay. We're okay. And people are like, you know, thank you for telling us about your substance abuse, because guess what? I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I'm this. I'm a gambler. I'm a sex addict. Like, people are just telling me all this shit. And I was just like, huh.
You just open the door for the
It just
honesty to come out. Yeah.
right. And that's why what I think what you're doing, Janine, is so good, is because there's so many people in this world that we look up to that are
Yeah.
so screwed up, and are so hurting and so and it's a healing process. Like, I'm not even there. I'm not even there. And you know, doing things like this, like talking to you, and yeah, like in my, some people would say I'm stupid. Like, I got a real estate business to look after. I should be lying and should be saying everything's awesome. I'm great. But the truth is, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Like, I'm
No,
just
you're
as
being
fucked up
human.
as I'm as fucked up as all everyone is, right? And
Yeah.
it's
I truly believe we're all suffering from something in silence that we're not sharing, and we all have our dark days, but it's being able to share these stories. And that's why I'm so grateful for your honesty and your authenticity and being okay with sharing the emotions. Cause as men too, in society, I mean, it's kind of more of like this stuff it down. So that's kind of, so I really do appreciate you being so open and honest, because I guarantee you someone watching this is going to really need to hear that.
Well, I actually chatted with, thank you for that, Janine. Thank you. But I actually chatted with a gentleman who was kind of like the play-by-play announcer for the London Knights in the professional hockey back when I played there. And he wanted to interview me because I was very popular in that league. I was known as, you know, Mr. London Knight. And he wanted to interview me. And this is the guy,
Yeah.
this is a guy who himself has gone off the rails,
Yeah.
who's like, he told me stories that he was like 8 o'clock in the morning, he'd grab a bottle of vodka and he'd be chugging vodka. He lived on vodka. Like, that was his meal, his vodka.
Yeah.
And we actually had a chat probably a couple of weeks ago. And he's been sober now for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is, which is amazing. But we had this chat, and I said to him, I said, why do you do this? Like you're not making any money. You're not, like, why is this? And he's like, it keeps me sober. And I said,
Mm,
what do you mean it keeps you sober? He's like, I'm giving back, and I'm sharing, and I'm teaching, and I'm listening, and that's when I said, like, when you asked me to be on this, and some people are like, well, don't go into everything. Don't tell them everything. I'm like, why not? Why not?
yeah.
Like, why not?
It's
Like,
because
I'm
we're
a human.
afraid. I mean, we all, to some extent, it's because a lot of us will abandon our authenticity for attachment. And it's that fear of, and as kids, I mean, we need our caregivers, right? So we will conform to get their appraisal. And as we go through, we succeed and we achieve, and then we get external validation, and that fills that void. And then adversity strikes. And then typically after adversity, that's when we start to see the true authentic human start to emerge, because it's exhausting being fake. It's so
So
exhausting.
exhausting.
And
So
it's
exhausting.
and you
Yeah.
can feel it. You get to a point where you can't even fake it anymore. It's just you're cracked open, and it's just that you're exposed, right? So, I mean, if anyone is judgmental about that, I think they're lying to themselves about that. So I appreciate it. And you know what? The best of the best are suffering from something. I've interviewed so many athletes that are at the top of their game, and that they said they felt like they were an imposter, and they
Yeah.
were, they're
A
still
fake.
dealing with
A fake.
confidence issues.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's so normal. For As we kind of wrap things up, is there anything that I didn't ask before I kind of asked for that final piece of wisdom for someone who is suffering in silence? What advice you'd have for them? Is there something maybe along your journey that you really felt was a pivotal moment for you that maybe hasn't come up?
Um,
Or like how it was
yeah,
for your family?
it was it's pretty personal. So I would, yeah, I probably won't go there, but,
Okay.
I will tell you that I mean, I've hit rock bottom.
Okay.
And I've actually hit rock bottom when everyone thought I was at the top of the mountain. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I really have. I've hit rock bottom. I've surrounded myself with the best of the best, and I think that's, if anyone ever gives me praise or gives me like, like congrats, like this is awesome what you're doing, and I always say to them, I'm like, no, I've just surrounded myself with the best people, and
Yeah.
they've made me look good, even though I'm not good.
Well, it's like the
Um,
picture of the iceberg, right? You see the tip, but then you can't
yep,
see everything underneath the surface. So that's
yeah,
like for most of us.
and it is right. Like I'd be shocked at any professional athlete, any professional person, any speaker, any if they don't suffer from something.
Yeah,
They're like everyone's suffering from something, and that's why what you're doing here, I think, is brilliant. And I think it's going to help you for one because you get to hear these stories,
yeah,
and and I know when I hear people who are suffering, who are going through tough times and stuff like that, it validates how I feel.
yeah,
So
for
I'm
sure.
sure, and I know you're doing awesome now and stuff like that, but you've gone through some dark shit yourself. And
Yeah,
I think as you resonate, as you think about some of the shit you've gone through, and then you hear about all the shit that everyone's going through, it kind of validates how you felt and what you went through was real.
absolutely.
And that you're not fake, you're not a fraud, you're not, because for the longest time, I was, the more people told me good stuff about me, the worse I felt. The
Interesting.
worse
Eh?
I felt. It was weird. Like if someone ever came up to me and they'd be like, "You're awesome," I'd be like, "Phew." I'd spiral out of control. I'm like, I'm glad you think that, but I'm not awesome. I'm struggling. I'm suffering. And I still am. I
Yeah.
still am. We all are. We all are, right? And I think it's just trying to find the right people around us. Uh, but even now, I mean, the way I am with my girlfriend, with my kids, with everything, I crave them telling me I'm good, I'm enough. And when you don't hear it, you just get lower and lower and lower. But the problem is when you do hear it, you get lower and lower and lower. It's
It's
trying
like
to
this
find that.
vicious cycle.
It's just a vicious cycle, right? And if I am where I am in life and I'm suffering, I can just imagine where other people are, right? And that's why I think it's what you're doing is awesome. And I think that I hope, I've listened to a lot of your episodes, and I do hope that people are real when they talk to you.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
that's kind of a prerequisite for coming on. It's like if you're open and honest, those are the conversations that we have room for, right? I mean, if there's one piece of advice you could give someone who's watching this that is they're in a dark, dark place, what would you advise them to do to help them take the right step forward? What would you say?
we're all in the same place. We are all in the same place, and surround yourself with the right people. But you got to work on your own headspace because you can't look for gratification, glory from people.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, and I'm still doing, I'm not, I'm still doing it. I've been looking for people to build me up for years,
Yeah.
and it gets to the point where, and like I said, I'm still a work in progress. I'm not saying I'm fixed, I'm better, in this that.
I
I
think
need to
we
build.
all are till the day we die.
Right, but you know what? I need to build myself up. I need. I can't. I can't wait for my girlfriend to tell me I'm awesome. I'm perfect. I'm this
Yeah.
and that. I can't wait for my kids to say you're the best dad ever. I
Yeah.
need to build. I need to build myself up. And if you're looking for external people to build you up or external situations to build you up, you're never going to find it.
No, and I
Right.
that's what I work on with my athletes all the time, internal versus external validation and with that self-talk, and I give them tools to be able to change the narrative in their minds through whether it be reading or podcasts or mindset, or we talk about meditation, visualization, affirmations, helping them reframe situations in their life so that they can see a different perspective, because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, and it can be that quick. But it's just like our bodies that we train for hockey, right? Mental fitness has its own lane as well, and that's something I'm super passionate about. So I'm so
How did
grateful.
you, Janine? How did you? Let me ask you a question. Let
Sure.
me put
Yeah.
you on the spot because
Sure.
you were a hockey player. You were an athlete. You were at the pinnacle of your game. You were right at the top, and then the shit you went through, and then cancer and this and that. Like, how do you build yourself up without needing someone to build you
Journaling.
up.
I journal and journal and journal and journal and read and explore, and I get curious. I really try to help in the beginning of anyone's self-help journey. It's all about that self-observation. So, like I would be in the kitchen and my husband would say something and I'd get immediately triggered of something he said and furious, and then be like, whoa, you just said, and then I would journal and try to pinpoint, and then I'd spend time in meditation and I would ask myself a question and eventually the answer would come. I mean, I've had some meditations where, like before I did public speaking, I used to be really tight in my, like around here. And I knew it was because I was always meant to do speaking. And literally, and it's not about the length of time that I would sit with my journaling or meditation. It was about showing up consistently.
Yeah.
And when I say life's currency is showing up, it's not time or money. It's leaning into the dark places, leaning into the sadness, leaning into the, okay, that's interesting. I just got triggered here. Why do I feel that way? And then I can go, oh, this is what it reminded me of. And that's something that happened in my past and I'm doing the future. And then I can own it, apologize to the person that I got triggered in front of and move on. But then in each time that those experiences happen, I'm able to pattern interrupt, and journaling to me is everything. Writing down your thoughts, anything that I write down negative, I have to write down a positive reframe so that, but I get to see patterns. Like some of my first journals I have, like I've got tons of journals just written through. The first one is like, oh my God, you're writing about this again? Like it was there's so much that I had to weed through before I got to the good stuff that it's in my mindset and resiliency development playbook for my Tiger method. And all the visions that come, I get it on paper, I doodle, I draw it, and then I see the connections. And that's how I've been able to develop my programs for my speaking. So it takes time. People want the overnight thing, but it's creating a routine in the morning for me. So it's like I wake up, I'll what I say, Gabby Bernstein says, rage on the page. So I'll get all my thoughts out. Then I will go into some meditation, whether it be guided or sitting on myself. And then I will write again what came up for me. And then I work out all before I look at my phone. Because as soon as I look at my phone, I'm looking at emails, I'm responding to texts. I've lost an hour of time. I get stuck in the scroll hole, like, oh, that's a cute dog. Oh, she's pretty. He's cute. We're getting on their pages. And then next thing you know, kids have to go to school and I'm starting my day and I did nothing for myself. So I'm pouring from an empty cup. And then at night, I have a bath with Himalayan salt so that I'm a very big energy person, and I'll read. So I'm always filling my mind with new concepts and perceptions. And, oh, that's interesting. This success leaves clues. You see it. So I try to just constantly learn. I mean, I have bad days all the time, so don't be fooled there. I have days where I don't want to get out of bed. When we were going through our bankruptcy, I had days where I drank too much too. It was just like, you avoid it. We resist the things that we really need to work on. We resist it like the plague. So if anyone's listening, whatever you're resisting, that's your first place to go. So like for me, I know I need to hit the weights in the
You know
gym.
what? So when anything that I do, I'm always looking for something of value. And so I'm a very busy person, and someone's like, okay, well, why are you doing this? Why are you going on this? I'm like, if it gives me some perspective and some value, it's worth it to me. And if I can give some value to somebody else, it's worth it to them. You just gave me some value.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
You
you.
you just gave me some value. Like I'm missing that. I don't journal. I don't
I can
meditate.
help you with that. We'll chat off camera.
There we go.
I can
There we go.
definitely help you with that. But it's so grateful to have you join the conversation, Paul. It's been a pleasure hearing about your journey, and congrats on all your success, which you having success. And thank you for being so raw and real and human, because we don't need more fake. We don't need more filters. We need to be seen as we are and know that everybody is welcome here. This is episode 42 of Tiger Talk Tuesday, transitioning to life after sports, everyone, and with Paul Rushforth. Thank you.
My pleasure. And listen, I'm just happy that I'm just as fucked up as everybody.
Perfect.